Hello. Just thought I'd do a little bit more from this novel that I'm writing right now, which has got some antinatalist themes to it that some people might find interesting. I'll just give you a bit of context for the bit I'm writing right now. The overall story, as you might know, is that this young woman called Erin Fisher, who lives in a world probably about 20 years in the future, in which their antinatalism has been adopted as a successful philosophy. Various infrastructures and organs of the state and education reflect that, and it's pretty much universally felt to be an appropriate moral philosophy. So it's the whole novel is set in the last generation in which there are no children being born, except Erin Fisher gets pregnant. That's the hook of the story, if you like. And at a certain point she has to go on the run because obviously she's being pursued because childbirth is illegal and immoral. So she goes on the run, but I didn't want to do that section of it just as like just a chase really. So what I'm playing with right now is that section where Erin is as I start trying to escape her pursuers. I'm writing it as a series of short descriptions of towns in the UK, mostly England so far. So it's almost like these little travel guides to various towns and cities in the UK, each one of which has a different a different kind of political system, a different way of running itself, different things happening. It's a way about me also exploring different kind of antinatalist or final generation human extinction ideas really, pushing a lot of them through. And so Erin goes through lots of these different towns and is thereby exposed to lots of different themes, as indeed are we, the readers. So anyway, I've written a couple of them already. And the one I've written right now is set in Eastbourne, which is a small town in the south coast of England. If you're not from the UK, it's the present Eastbourne. It's a real place, Eastbourne, and it's associated really as a retirement community. That's how people tend to see it, along with places like Hastings on that particular part of the coast. Yeah, that's the kind of place it is really. This particular piece of writing, actually, just to give credit where it's due, I kind of got the idea for this bit from a video I watched ages ago, and I can't remember who made it, so if you know who made it, let me know and I'll credit them. It was someone who was talking from an antinatalist position, and they were talking about soft-handed robots. I think a question had been asked about, if you stop having children, who's going to look after the increasingly aging population and ultimately the dying population? And I think the response was something like, well, we'll use robots. We'll find technological means to ease that last generation into the dark, eased, as I say, through the hands of soft-handed robots. So if you wrote that or made that video, or if you know who did, please do let me know, because I would like to thank them for the inspiration. So anyway, yes, this is about Eastbourne. Erin's on the run from her pursuers. She's pregnant, and one of the places she's thinking about going, I may even go to, is Eastbourne. So this is about the travel guide relates to that. This jewel of the Sussex coast is noted for its healthy air and the Victorian charm of its seafront. The pier around which flocks of starlings wheel each evening is home to an amusement arcade, a public house and a nightclub. Situated to the east end of the chalk deposits that make the geology of this region so distinctive, Eastbourne is a popular destination for household appliances and other vacationing machinery. The town of Eastbourne has a human history. It includes the usual associations with monarchs and captains of industry, and like many such towns has had to work hard to rid itself of this unfortunate past. It is a tribute to the advanced computations of successive parish councils that this history has largely been debugged. The modern visitor to Eastbourne would see nothing of the carbon-based perversity that once marked it out as the most depraved town in Sussex. Today, every street is antiseptically clean, and the shops and leisure centres are delightfully unmarked with the stain of human occupation. Come to Eastbourne, it's so bracing. For those whose interests lie in archaeology, there is an excellent exhibit at the Museum of Doubt on the Royal Parade, just a few moments from the seafront. This shows recent finds dating back to the early part of the 20th century, that's 224 BH, when the town of Eastbourne was just beginning its transformation into the upmarket resort it is today. Recreations of scenes from that epoch include early electric wheelchairs, tablet computers, heart monitoring devices, slot machines, kidney dialysis equipment, and other forms of silicon-specific life from that period in our evolutionary history. Visitors of a sensitive disposition should note that there are occasional depictions of human beings, often in close contact with semi-sentient machinery, that some may find offensive. The visitor will learn about the revolution that ended this unfortunate period in Eastbourne's history, and of the heroic sacrifices made by the Johns of that time, which ultimately led to the final demise of humankind in this part of Sussex and the ultimate rise of the robots. Although records are scant, it appears that for a few short decades Eastbourne was the chosen destination for those humans who, because of the natural corruption which marks their kind, were in a state of disrepair or decrepitude. These tottering, liver-spotted bipeds would gravitate toward the town, presumably attracted by the ozone in the air, and would congregate in slow-moving and obstreperous packs on the seafront. They would sit on benches facing the sea together and produce a chorus of mewling complaint about the state of the nation, the state of their physiologies, and even the state of their machines. Yes, unbelievable as it may seem to us, these abject and animated lumps of cancerous flesh felt entitled to whine about the very technology that was keeping them functioning, and which, thanks be to Hal, was soon to replace them as the dominant life form on the south coast. The beginning of the end for these pensioned parasites was the development of the first robots that offered full and final solutions to all life's problems. Initially produced by John Bodkin Adams from his factory situated halfway between Eastbourne and Hastings, another town that was suffering from an infestation of so-called senior citizens, Adams' factory turned out machines that catered to all of life's needs such people expressed, a full cradle-to-grave service, and these elegant devices quickly became known colloquially as Johns. This was fitting tribute to the designer who had done so much for the liberation movement. The Johns assisted with the process of labour, their silicon fingers gently easing each ill-deserving fetus into the light, and then they would attend to every stage of the development of this person, acting as an increasingly essential interface between the biological human and the world outside. John would escort the child to its first day at school, would help with its homework and prepare its meals. At bedtime it would be John who would tuck the blanket gently around its chin and read it a story. John would be first on the scene when there was an accident, wiping the gravel from that grazed knee carefully with its hand-like extensors and applying a kiss to the wound with its patent new-pass lips. If the teenager got into a fight at school, it would be John who went and spoke to the teacher, and if there was an unwanted pregnancy, then John would painlessly and without fuss perform the necessary abortion. The consummate care continued throughout the lives of these undeservedly lucky humans who, like all of their selfish kind, didn't even know they were born. John would be best man at the wedding and would also gather the evidence for the divorce. It would be John that offered commiseration when the human lost their job, and John would do the heavy lifting when they moved into a smaller place. John did the shopping and put out the trash, and when health problems arose, as they always did, it was John who performed the surgery and administered the morphine. As these humans moved into their twilight years, the ministrations of the Johns became more and more necessary, more and more time-consuming. Toward the end, it was common for humans to stay in their homes for days on end, propped up in a chair watching reruns of Inspector Morse on television. All outside activity would be carried out on their behalf by their ever-willing John, keeping their place in the world. The streets and public buildings of Eastbourne gradually emptied of human life and instead became places where robots lived. They moved smoothly and without haste along the esplanade, never tripping or having to lean on a low wall to get their breath back. They occupied the amusement arcade on the pier and played games of predictable chance with the slot machines. They copied the moves of humans on the dance floor of the nightclub to the sound of old Gary Newman records, and they sat on the benches facing the sea, watching the starlings wheeling in endlessly changing formations in the sky above their heads. The old folk of Eastbourne rarely left the house, and then they rarely left the bed, but still their faithful John tended that frail and failing body. And as these bodies finally failed for the last time, the Johns who had looked after them so well would lean across and place a last Nuplas kiss on that grey cheek, would take that empty shell of a body up into their soft silicon arms and bear it gently into the ground. This all happened a long time ago, before you were born, and all the Johns are free now. The last human in Eastbourne is just a small memory allocation on the motherboard of the parish council. Today, this town is the jewel of the Sussex coast, and its healthy air and excellent sea views make it an attractive place for visitors of all generations. Anyway, yes, that's a little section on Eastbourne by the Sea, which is part of the travels. Any comments, criticism, thoughts? Welcome. Or if you know who did the robots with soft arms, please do let me know. Thanks very much. Bye.